myself, and I know the amount of worry and concern that one has when we have an animal that's gone missing or is taken from our homes. And as I was saying before, and it's wonderful to see you all joining me, so thank you for being here, but one of the most difficult parts about tracking missing animals is that it is emotional. It's highly emotionally charged, and although I have a very good success rate of bringing animals back safely to their people, it isn't easy. It's extremely time consuming, and animals, when they're lost, when they're missing, oftentimes they're on the move. You know, I used to have husky dogs that used to run when the gate got left open, and they would run for 20-30 minutes before they actually realized that they were lost and they didn't know how to get back home, or someone would pick them up and take them to a vet, oftentimes not in the area that they were picked up. So there's a lot of moving pieces in locating, or what is known as gestalt tracking an animal, where through my own process that I use, there is a connection made between me and the animal, and I ask the animal from their point of view to show me, to give me clues. It's kind of like tracking a needle in a haystack, but it is possible and highly effective. But it does take a lot of time and a lot of patience and a lot of effort. A lot of animal communicators won't do this work because it is so difficult, and people get very upset when you can't wave a magic wand and get the animal back in the time that the person expects it. So one of the ways I would say to please help an animal communicator, if you go that route, obviously you've taken all the necessary physical steps of putting up lost posters, calling in with your vets. I always say go into the shelters, check every single day, because a lot of times when the animals are dropped off at vets, it often takes a couple of hours. Sometimes they're held overnight before one of the shelters come and collect those animals and take them to the shelters. And of course, always trip your animals, so that there is a way that if they are lost and they are brought into a shelter, that they can be scanned and quickly returned to you. And even in those cases, you know, I've had cats that have been chipped, and people have phoned and they say, no, there isn't an animal's description like that there. And I have had a direct, communication, a very urgent one from an animal saying, hey, I am there, but don't go until tomorrow afternoon. And sure enough, I've had a couple of cats and dogs reunited with their people because they were in transit. So if you'd gone any earlier and been there, you might have missed that animal. So just remember, there's so many moving parts. I do cover this there's a whole section of this inside of my animal communication class, because it is a very tricky, as I said, very time consuming, very emotionally charged service that not many animal communicators offer. And as I said, if they're on the move, if they are reverting back, which they do, if they're afraid, if they've been chased, if it's a cat that's been chased by a dog for miles, or a dog that perhaps has had a near miss with a car and he's running, they do revert back to that instinct to survive. And a lot of times they can't listen to you or have a conversation if they're busy protecting themselves or defending themselves or trying to get themselves to a safe place. This is another reason why I often do my gestalt tracking late at night or early in the morning, like 2-3 o'clock, because the earth is very still. It's much quieter there. There isn't all the noise and the busyness of millions and millions of people's thought processes out there in the airwaves, and they can hear a lot better, and they're often in a calmer state of mind. So again, some of the reasons why it's difficult to track missing animals is they will go to extreme measures, which includes going away leaving home to get your attention to something that you need to look at, something that you need to pay attention to or take care of that's going on in your own life. If you have been in a space of intensity or distraction and you're not paying attention to what needs to be paid to, animals will go missing. This is where you see behavioral issues when they don't take those sort of extreme measures of leaving home to really get you into that place of, hey, what the heck is going on here? They will leave home because there are lessons there for you. Same way that happens in behavioral issues when they start to do things that are totally out of character. They're trying to get your attention. Animals are our greatest teachers and our greatest messengers. And just as we have soul contracts with other people, they too have soul contracts with us to grow and teach and learn and evolve us into being better human beings. And of course, some of them choose to leave because their contracts are complete. They know that you're going to be okay, or perhaps it's just not a place they want to be anymore. A lot of times too, if there isn't a matrix session done where all the animals that are in an existing pack, right, part of your family already, are not given the choice or even entered into a conversation to say, hey, is it okay if we get another rescue animal from the shelter that you came from and that you were rescued too, and is it all right? When you don't have that two-way communication through open, honest, two-way dialogue, if you're not giving them the choice, and you may perhaps bring an animal into the house that they really didn't want to share the house with, especially with like only children, single dog or cat families, they often don't want anybody else to share you. They want to be the head cat or the head dog in the house. So it's always great to have those conversations ahead of time so that you don't have animals that decide to leave or check out because they don't want to be with your house. I once had a client whose little dog was doing a whole lot of behavioral issues, and he really wasn't doing very well, and she contacted me to say, please could I tune in and have a conversation with her dog, because she didn't know what was going on. And I kept saying to her, well, he's told me that he doesn't want to be a city dog. He wants to be out on the farm with all the other dogs, because she had 2 properties. And she was like, no, he's my baby. I want him to be in town with me. And he was like, no, I don't want to be here. And what did he do? He took a really extreme measure, which I would have preferred him not to do, but because this person wasn't listening, it was a non-negotiable. She wanted him in town with him. The first opportunity that the front door got left open, he bolted out and got hit by a car. Animals aren't attached to their physical bodies the way that we are, and they will go to extreme measures, as I said, to do things like that, to be able to come back in a body where they can run free on the farm and be part of a pack, in that example. And I think that that's one of the other things that is probably the hardest in tracking missing animals, is that sometimes we don't know if they're alive or if they've left their physical bodies. And the problem is that because they're souls that know that they are infinite beings just as we are, and that the soul never dies, the spirit just moves on as if it's still living in the body, especially if they've been hit by a car or they died very, very suddenly, whether they've been attacked by a wild animal, and the life goes out of the body, the soul leaves the body so quickly. A lot of the times it's very, very interesting when I ask, are you still in a body? And I have a lot of questions that I ask them to ensure that I get a really clear read, a very clear yes or no, to know if they're alive or if they've left their bodies already. But I think it's something that I never do. I never tell an animal's human that they're dead, because I've had this happen in the past where I've got a really faint read where the animal's life force energy feels very low, or they're not hungry and they're not thirsty, which is often another sign that they're no longer in their body, that they're in spirit. And I've had instances, as I said before, where the spirit has moved so quickly out of the body in a place of survival, so they're running away, or they're really, running for their lives. They're trying to keep themselves alive, where it feels like there is no read or there is no communication coming back. And I felt like they're not in their body, that they're possibly dead, only to have them connect with me 2 days later and tell me that they're actually alive. So it's something that I think is an honoring of both the animal and the animal's person, to not ever say, okay, your animal is dead, and that you really need to be patient and compassionate. If you have hired an animal a communicator to help you and assist you in tracking your lost animal, be patient and compassionate with them. And if you're that person that's reached out and is asking for help from an animal communicator, I also always will not work with anybody unless they're only using me. Reason being, because when you have too many people on the case, first of all, it can be very confusing for the animal to be bombarded with multiple people asking them questions and everybody getting different aspects or messages from the animals. It's not that either or one is right and the other one is wrong. It's just that you really want tangible leads, or I certainly do, pragmatic leads that the person can then take the steps to go and explore the areas that come up, or to go and check out, explore every possible option from the clues that we're getting. Remember, it's like leaving breadcrumbs along the trail. So be patient and compassionate with your animal communicator as well. Try not to be overwhelming them with constant messages and constant calls to say, have you found them yet? Or, where are you? Or why aren't you doing enough? I only speak to my people when there's practical leads and clues that you can follow up on. For one, because I don't want to overwhelm the person with information that's not useful. And second, it's not a kindness, to be in that space. You have to get in the zone. As I said, it's very time consuming. It's work that needs intentioned focus. And I just ask you, please don't make it more difficult than it already is by being rude or unreasonable, or saying, that you've wasted your money, or that's a load of bullshit, or all the other things that I've had a couple of people in the past get really upset and angry with me, because I'm just the interpreter. I'm just giving you the information straight from your animal's mouth. And yes, sometimes things get lost in translation, and yes, sometimes the information is slightly off. But I think that, I think it's when you can be relaxed and focused. And that's something that I always teach my animal communication students, is that you cannot come from a place of being emotionally vested in it, even though that is something that of course we all are, which is one of the reasons why I never give up and I never give up on the animal being able to come home. I've had dogs in the past, a couple of them, that have been missing for one of them was missing for over a year, and they did eventually find him because they never stopped looking. I think it's the most important thing for your animal to know. And one thing that I always tell my people is, tell your animal that you will wait for as long as it takes to get them safely home, and that you're doing everything possible, and keep that heart-to-heart connection open. Carry on sending them mind maps, and just know that when you're relaxed, when you're focused, when you're not worrying, it's the same as when you're concerned about your animal when they're about to transition out of their bodies, or they're reaching their senior ages where their organs start to slow down, or when they're ill. We cannot support them from a place of being overly worried or concerned. It's a very low vibrational frequency, and not one that they're very comfortable with. When there's disharmony, when there's fighting, when there's chaos, when there's stuff going on in the house, it's too intense for a lot of them, especially cats. And it's another reason why they'll leave home, because they want you to get the lesson out of whatever it is, so that they can come back home. So it's just just remember too, it's like when you're asking an animal how they're feeling, are they tired, are they in any pain, that's a good indicator that your animal is still alive, and not one that I'm going to share with the person that's concerned and wanting to get their beloved animal companion home. That's just something that I work on through my energetic healing processes and practices, in really giving them the best chance possible to get back home. And oftentimes I do receive no information. I'll have an initial communication, I'll get some initial leads, and then it kind of goes dark, it goes cold, sometimes for days before I get another kind of intuitive hit and interspecies communication between me and the animal, because they often are leaving their physical bodies to go into an astral projection. So they actually leave the physical body that may be on the ground or stuck in the tree or wherever it is, to get an aerial view. So think of it like an aerial view where they are looking above their bodies to try and relocate, find their bearings so that they can try and get their way home. So that's oftentimes too why they don't respond, because they're out of the body in the moment. So I hope that's sort of giving you more information on just how complicated and complex it is to track missing animals, and why patience and persistence and compassion, not only toward yourself and to the animal, to keep your energy high even though you're worried. This is a practice, and again, something what they often teach us is how to raise our energy vibrational frequency to be a match for what it is that we're asking for. So thinking of worst case scenarios, even though that's where our mind often goes, it's not helpful to the animals. So when you can keep yourself calm and grounded, keep that heart-to-heart connection open through the grounding cord exercises I share on my SoundCloud account, on my YouTube videos. That's the way that we actually start to practice being more present with what is, and really learn how to let go of the controls, because we don't have any control over that other than taking the practical steps in the case of missing animals, and bringing ourselves back to a place that we can be supportive not only to our animal but to the person that you may have asked to help you to track your missing animal. So I hope that's helpful. I do have a practical little cheat sheet that if you'd like it, just PM me. I'll post the link below so that you can really set yourself up for success if you have an animal that's gone missing, and also to set yourself up for success in finding an animal communicator that knows how to do this work. As I said, it's not easy, but it is possible to get your animals home, and I have a really good success rate in that. So support your animal communicator, be kind, be gentle, and you're the one that knows your animal communicator better than anybody else. So it's up to you to follow through with the groundwork, to do every single step that you're asked to do, and take the practical steps daily. As I said, don't just go to the shelter once or phone. You need to go in. You need to look at every single cage. Make sure you look in the infirmaries as well, where they keep sick cats and newly born kittens with their mothers. I've found animals there too that have just come in and they haven't been put into the shelter cages yet. They're still in the infirmary. So, explore all the options and never ever give up hope. It's just like, what if your animal is looking for you and you've given up ever finding them again? I think that's one of the biggest parts, one of the biggest gifts that you can give to your animal companion, is to never ever give up in finding them, because they want you to find them. So set yourself up for success and make sure that you use the exercises and take some of these tips into your life, and share this with people that might be in pain and concerned because their animals are lost. And I'll speak to you soon. And if you like this, please share it, spread it around so that we can get more of those missing animals home as quickly as possible. All right, I am at my destination, so I'm going to love and leave you. Have a beautiful Sunday wherever you are. All right, bye everyone.